Yeah, it's recording now.
Okay, you just started the recording?
Yep. Mhm.
Okay, great. All right, hello everybody. This is Michael Vandegrift and Ann from MCB Realty. We're going to cover the appraisal gap. Normally this is done as an addendum to add to a purchase agreement, but this memo that we're going to put up on our website as a blog post is from the IAR. They've actually included language here. You can see in the gray there that we can put in the further conditions. Typically, we don't want to write in the further conditions of a contract because our contracts in the state of Indiana are written up by lawyers and we're just supposed to fill in the blanks on them. But they have, because this is so common, because of this hot market with low inventory and high demand, a lot of people are offering over market value on houses to win them. And where the problem comes in with that is if the appraisal comes in lower, you would need an appraisal gap to cover that difference because the bank's only going to loan up to what the house appraises for. So say, like it says, if the appraisal value comes in below the purchase price, buyer agrees to cover the difference in cash between the appraisal amount and purchase price up to and including whatever they put the gap at. We had one recently where we represented a seller and we wrote back on the counter for $400,000 with a $10,000 appraisal gap. So what that means is as long as the house appraises for $390, we're still going to get the $400 offer. Now, if the house were to appraise for $370, then the buyer would only be responsible for paying $380 because they have a $10,000 appraisal gap. So there would still be negotiation further between that $390 and the $400. So the buyer and seller would need to renegotiate that. A lot of times what happens on these is you meet in the middle. Usually the seller the difference would be $10,000 on that one at $390 instead of $400. Typically you kind of eat the difference in the middle and you go $395 and the buyer brings an extra, in that case, an extra $5,000 to the closing table along with their down payment and closing costs. But it's not always the case. Sometimes buyers will only pay what the house appraises for, and sometimes sellers will stick to their guns and only sell the house for what they agreed in the purchase agreement. So, and in those cases, they can get out because there is an appraisal. There's usually an appraisal contingency unless it's a cash deal and you mark no appraisal. So this language allows that, and this document goes through that a little further into how that works. Now that it doesn't go over the house, and this document shows that. Let's say we've got a $100,000 house, and the appraisal comes in at $90,000. Okay, so now we have a $10,000 difference. Okay, if they had an appraisal gap for $10,000, that's good. We go for $100,000. Now let's say same situation, $100,000 house, $90,000 appraisal, and we have a $20,000 appraisal gap. Well, that doesn't mean that the seller's getting 110. It still stops at the purchase price, and that's what this document goes over in further detail. But these are a great tool to help win houses because it's one thing to offer a high offer, but if you're not backing it up, the appraisal could still come in lower, and that means nothing. So what this does is allows you to offer more money and guarantee it. That's why this is so important and why it's so commonly used in this market. So that's the appraisal gap addendum. Are there any questions you have that I did not answer on this?
Yeah, not so far.
All right, great. Well, that's the appraisal gap and how it's used. So you can
Is it
stop
always being practiced, like at all times in every listing?
What's that? I'm sorry?
Is the appraisal gap always being practiced, like in every
No, it's
listing?
just when you need it. It's not everybody uses it. It's you don't have to use it. It's just a tool you could use. There's a lot of different. We're going to start going through these documents. You start seeing there's escalation clauses you can use too. There's a lot of tools when you understand all the documents you can use that you can add to a purchase agreement to make your offer stronger. What this does is make your offer stronger.
Okay. Mhm.
Yeah, because it guarantees funds if you make a high offer to try to win a house. Yeah.
Okay.